For more on this, we are being joined by Mr. Joachim Bitterlich, a former German ambassador to NATO and a former European diplomatic and security advisor to German Chancellor Helmut Kohl. He's joining us live from Berlin. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Ambassador. It seems that even Jens Stoltenberg is preparing the Europeans for bad news coming from Ukraine. What does that mean, and what do you make of his comments?
But please be aware the situation in the United States, in Washington. The administration is not sure to get the necessary means to continue with the military support in favor of Ukraine from Congress. And therefore, Stoltenberg is warning the Europeans, you have to do more in the coming months, especially now in wintertime, with regard to this war of attrition in Ukraine. We will have a difficult time, but this reinforces at the same time voices, and I even read voices from Washington, asking the Americans to take a much, let's say, more offensive role towards at least a ceasefire, and asking for assistance support by countries like India or China.
And how serious could it be for Kyiv if the funds dry up from Washington, notably?
Well, it's easy. In this war of attrition, you need huge amounts of ammunition. The Europeans have not enough. They try to get more and more. Therefore, decisions in the EU in the last weeks have been, let's say, focusing on that subject. On the other hand, the Russians, let's say, have found now, let's call it a better receipt, at least to stop the Ukrainians, to avoid any, let's say, success in the offensive structure of the last months. And therefore, it's a real war of attrition, and people are becoming tired. Even Ukrainians have problems of recruitment, problems of ammunition, problems of enough arms towards the Russians. And therefore, this situation is a certain stalemate, and therefore we need another pressure on the Russian side to enter into ceasefire, at least ceasefire negotiations before winter. But the same applies indirectly to the Ukraine. We have got first hints by Zelensky in the last days, talking about his war goals. I understand him entirely. The objective is still there, but even he himself and his army are expressing doubts about, let's say, reaching these goals, let's say, in the next time. Therefore, you hear these voices, let's say, to have at least a ceasefire for a moment, perhaps even before winter. It's a certain fatigue of the war.
Well, we'll be watching
in the US and elsewhere.
I see. Thank you so much, Ambassador Bitterlich, joining us from Berlin. I look forward to speaking to you again very soon, and we'll be watching this story very closely.